Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we have ourselves a track off of an album from an act named Shining Force, the album being Spiritual Warfare. If we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track, or the album art on YouTube here with the dragons and the horses and everything in the castle. It's looking very cool. It's actually, genuinely, it looks really cool. The track that we're going to be listening through today is called Angel Light. It's one of the tracks off of this album. It's been a band that's been going for about 30 years now, since 1995. The people involved in this recording, as I understand it, are Billy G. Vaughan Sr. on rhythm guitars, Abel Milano on vocals, rhythm and lead guitars, Chris Took on rhythm and lead guitars, Arnold Cantu on bass, and Ernie Lopez on drums. There's also, in this album, there's also a feature from Tim Ripper Owens, formerly of Judas Priest and Ice Earth. We've got some really cool people involved with this, and we're going to listen through this track from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Angel Light, let's go. I like the drums. Interesting fizz to them. It's quite well produced. Incredible head voice there for the vibrato. It reminds me of a lot of thrash music from the late 80s. So, like, I'm getting, like, the Angel Light part that's being sung in the middle, potentially because it's in a higher range than some of the rhythm parts. I'm not sure if I'm getting all the words through clearly, though. But it does remind me of Judas Priest quite a lot. I mean, to be fair, this could be Tim Ripper Owens in this. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. I just was confused. If it is there, I mean, either way, whether it's Abel or Tim, they're doing a fantastic job. Or both. And the guitar playing is incredibly tight. I mean, that's a phenomenal solo there. You've got to get that vibrato on in like that is fantastic. So is the concept of this is that the angel of light has come down to take on the people who have been full of that pride? Oh, crazy. That was the end of it. That song just flew by. We're going to talk about it more, though, in the conclusion. And so, welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Shining Force, titled. And so, welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Shining Force, titled Angel of Light, again, off of the Spiritual Warfare album. So, first of all, what do we think this track is about? I think that this track is basically the angel of light popping off against like a demon or the devil or the son of the demon or something like that. I wasn't able to get some of the words through clearly in the verse parts. I heard the hook line, the angel of light part really well, and some of the later elements there. That is, you could have potentially have turned up the vocals about 0.5 dB in the mix. I feel like you could have potentially had them just be a little bit more distinct. Because when their vocalist was in the upper ranges, just because of the frequency spectrum and how different things are perceived there was a different position, as I mentioned earlier, than a lot of the rhythm guitar parts in that mid-range. So you just kind of maybe had to put them up a little more just to make them a bit more distinct. There was a lot going on in that mid-range. But aside from that, I think that's what the track is about effectively in short summary there. There's far more lore provided, and I think that if you listen through the whole album, you'd probably get the entire piece through it. But that's my understanding of it anyways in a short summary, or at least on a first listen basis. So what was done well here? I think that in contrast to what I mentioned about the vocal leveling, the actual vocals themselves are utterly tremendous there. We had a fantastic attitude and a kind of snarl to some of those verse parts. And then in those choruses, we just belted. We went up right into our range and did some phenomenal harmonies. So the actual vocal technique, the way we communicated and expressed things was very dramatic and theatrical, suited the mood and context of the lyrics as I understood it, and was ultimately one of the highlights of this piece. I think they're clearly very comfortable on the microphone. They know exactly what they're doing. They suit the mood of the music well, with the guitars, bass, and drums really hot and heavy there, melodic when it was required. Some of those harmonized vocals in the upper range with the vibrato were absolutely sensational as well. So just really well done on the mic. Really happy with that. I think also it was the fact that we just had a really sensational instrumental performance there. The guitars of the very sort of power chord or alternate picked kind of palm muted rhythm parts were fantastic, and we had a great compass over those. But it was also those lead sections there. Tremendous playing with the kind of like the pedal note, kind of like alternate picked lead parts up there. The shred that we had as well. Very, very quick on the fretboard. Like, it was tremendous kind of going through those scales and all the elements associated with that. The big vibrato at the end. It was just really well played from like a lead perspective, and it didn't feel like it was being overplaying despite the complexity of it. You just had all these different ways of expressing the harmonized guitars there. There were some triumphant parts, almost like you could imagine the two, like the devil and the angel of light, having the battle there. You could imagine them going through different phases of that battle depending on which guitar parts you had there. There were some triumphant ones with major and minor triads there. There were some more sort of intense parts with the solo guitar in the center where it was kind of flying all over the place. And ultimately, it was meant to invoke a sense of journey and adventure, which it did incredibly well. There are some power metal elements, which I think were fantastic. It was just an adventure. It was charismatic. It was upbeat. It was fervent. And it was just really tight technically as well. There wasn't a note out of place. There was no point where it was like, oh, we could have done this differently, really. Rhythmically. And also, it's just... to be fair, the actual context of those guitar harmonies also can be a little bit kind of like dire depending on your understanding of it. So I think it was just shows an understanding of music theory and composition that they were able to articulate those lead guitars like they were inside of it, even though like there were like clear root notes with the rhythm parts, with the power chords and everything like that. A lot of the time, they navigated it really eloquently. There was a sophistication to it with alongside the heaviness. And the bass players and the drummers were fantastic and competent on that. We had a really sort of like intricate drum fill to start off the piece there, going into double kicks, snares, and hi-hats and very simple parts there. We explored the kit neatly. The bass was a fantastic sort of partner to that, and ultimately just really fleshed out the frequency spectrum really, really well. It was really, really good. I think it's also testament to the structuring of the track as well there. I think that the way that we handled things with the actual layering and the context of the story with the verses and choruses at the beginning there, having the kind of war drums lead us in, and then that kind of further explaining things before that big sort of like multi-layer guitar part there, or multi-sectional guitar part there in the late range. It's just, you have that final verse for a bit more context. And then the song kind of like fades out with those distorted guitars there. It's a really smart choice there. You can kind of imagine the journey that we're going on with it. And it's a very powerful thing with music there, where you don't need the story to handhold you and get you from A to B. It's really important. You genuinely can never take the listener's attention for granted here, but what they did here was invite the listener to get more involved there, just to close their eyes and sort of like sequence it. And yeah, there was absolutely no filler within it. You know, the 4 minutes or so it was well fleshed out. No complaints on my end. So I think that and the highlights for me for this track were the vocal part performance, as well as the various guitar, bass, and drum parts, and the overall structuring of it and how it was put together. I think just in terms of constructive critique, it was just literally just more of a subjective thing. And it could be these headphones. It's just the vocals in the center field and some of the verse sections could have been maybe like 0.5 dB in the mix louder, but it's like a very small thing at that point, you know. It could be, yeah, it's just, yeah. Otherwise, very, very happy with it. It was a fantastic effort, and thank you for watching my review of this track from an act named Shining Force, titled Angel of Light, the song off of the Spiritual Warfare album, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via the various social medias and YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.